You open up your phone, you scroll through the news, and it just feels like the financial world is constantly on the verge of some kind of collapse, right? There's always this barrage of headlines screaming about the next big crisis. So how are you, as an investor, supposed to navigate all that noise? Well, let's dive in and break it down.
And all that noise leads to the big question, the one that probably keeps you up at night sometimes. With all the chaos you see, wars, inflation, political drama, you start to think, should I just sell everything? Cash out and wait for the storm to pass? It's a really powerful gut-level fear. But here's the thing. This feeling, it's not new at all. In fact, you could almost call it an annual tradition. Every single year, investors are faced with what's called a fresh wall of worry. Basically, a whole new list of reasons why the world is about to end and why you should be scared.
I mean, just look at the last few years. In 2023, the big panic was all about high inflation and a coming recession. Then 2024 rolled around and it was sticky inflation and AI taking over the world. People are already worrying about global instability in 2025. And looking ahead, the list goes on. A potential AI bubble bursting, huge deficits. It's like there's always a new monster under the bed.
So this really begs the question, if there's a new apocalyptic scenario every year, does freaking out and reacting to it actually, pay? Does it help your bottom line? It makes you wonder what's really driving this constant cycle of fear that we see everywhere, especially in the media.
And this quote just nails it. This is the engine behind the whole panic machine. The media's business model is built on one thing, your attention. And nothing grabs our attention quite like fear. Bad news gets clicks, and clicks mean money. So of course there's a huge incentive to blow every threat up into a full-blown crisis.
And what's the result of all this? Well, if you're waiting for that perfect, calm, crisis-free moment to invest your money, you're going to be waiting forever. I mean, look at this list. There is always a war, or a recession, or a pandemic, or some political mess happening somewhere. This is the normal state of the world, not some weird exception.
Okay, so let's try to get some real perspective here. We're going to zoom way out and play a little game. Think of it like a Where's Wally puzzle, but for world-ending catastrophes.
Because right now, today's headlines feel absolutely enormous, don't they? They feel totally unique, bigger than anything that's ever happened before. It's so easy to get sucked in and believe that the challenges we're facing right now are just insurmountable.
But what happens when you take today's giant, scary headline and you place it on a map of 126 years of market history? Suddenly, it starts to look a lot smaller. We're not talking about feelings anymore. We're talking about cold, hard data. So, for our game, if you were looking at a long-term chart of the stock market, could you actually find World War I? Could you point out the Great Depression? What about the 2008 financial crash that felt like the end of the world? The truth is, these massive, history-defining events, they're barely even visible.
They're just hiccups. That's the key takeaway. These events that literally reshaped our planet and caused unimaginable suffering were, from the cold perspective of a diversified market index, just temporary speed bumps in a long, persistent march upward. The engine of human ingenuity and corporate earnings just proved to be incredibly resilient.
And the numbers really drive this home. Over that entire 126-year stretch, through all of it, the wars, the depressions, the pandemics, the US and Australian stock markets still delivered an average real return, that's after you subtract inflation, of about 6.5% a year.
So, if the data is so overwhelmingly clear, why do we constantly fall into this panic trap? Well, the answer isn't in the charts, it's in our heads. It's our own psychology, and a really powerful fear that has a name: FOVLI.
Now, you've probably heard of FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. That's the greedy voice that tells you to chase a hot stock right at the top of a bubble. While FOLE is its evil twin, the fear of losing everything. This is the raw panic that screams at you to sell everything during a crash, which locks in your losses at the worst possible moment. And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. There's a true story about a couple who gave in to this fear. They sold every single one of their investments in early 2009. Literally at the bottom of the global financial crisis, and put all their money into the supposed safety of cash. Years later, after watching the markets come roaring back while their cash was just getting eaten away by inflation, this was the question they asked their advisor: how can we get back? And the tragic answer is, you can't. The cost of acting on that FOMO was permanent. It was an irreversible decision that impacted the rest of their lives. Okay, so I can almost hear what you're thinking.
Sure, that all worked in the past, but isn't this time different? It's the one question everybody asks during every single crisis.
The talking heads on TV love to use the word uncertainty to scare us. But let's just redefine that word for a second. Uncertainty isn't some special, scary condition we're in right now. It is the normal, constant, permanent state of the future. The future has never been certain. Nobody had a crystal ball for 9/11 or a global pandemic. There will never, ever be a day when the future is perfectly clear.
The funny thing is, the feeling that this time is different is the one thing that is exactly the same in every single crisis. When you were living through it, each one felt like it was the big one, the crisis that would finally break the whole system for good. And yet, every time, the system adapted, and that upward march continued.
Which brings us right back to where we started. Looking ahead at the wall of worry for the next year or so, the AI bubble fears, the deficits, the global conflicts, is now, finally, the time to give in? Is it time to sell everything and just wait on the sidelines until things finally settle down? Having seen 126 years of history, understanding the psychology of fear, and knowing that the future is always uncertain, you decide.